morning sun shines on the gleaming hide of a muscular ranch horse. The aroma of bacon and coffee drifts from the wood cook stove at a cow camp. Silver spurs jingle as the men and women of the West get set for another day in the saddle. From the heart of Canada's finest ranching country, this is the Spirit of the West with rancher and horse trainer Hugh McLennan and his collection of music, poetry, and conversations with the folks who live and work with horses and cattle in the Spirit of the West.
For the ranchers of the West who raise the cattle to provide the beef that feeds the world, some things haven't changed in a long time. Still takes good ranch horses to move the cattle to the best forage on the range and bring them home in the fall. Cattle still need to be looked after no matter what the weather. But some things are changing quickly, as you'll hear on the Rangeland News.
Projecting what the ag industry in the year 2040 may look like.
And along those lines, Baxter Black takes a close look at genetically modified foods.
The benefits for feeding the predicted population explosion are beyond our ability to calculate.
On the Urban Saddles and Western Wear Horse Training File, I'll explain what I mean by saying, ride a fast horse slow and a slow horse fast. The 82nd annual Williams Lake Bull Sale is coming up on April the 18th. Now, back in about 1995, Billy and I were there looking at bulls, and I was collecting some interviews for this show. And that's when we met the ranch wife Marlene Pegg, a consummate top hand, colt starter, bronc rider, and much more. This week, we'll take you back there and revisit some of that conversation, and then next week, we'll bring Marlene back to talk about where she is today. Well, there was no horse that ever intimidated this gal, and you'll hear about some of them today.
Jumped over that fence, and I'm right in the middle of a wheat field. Well, as soon as the wheat touched his belly, that set his nerves right off. And I'm riding a real bronc out in the middle of this crop.
I dug up a long-lost Western classic song that only a few of you might remember, but it was popular a long time ago. And we'll start out with another one of those springtime riding ones from Butch Folk.
As the cattle all bed down for the evening, that old sun disappears behind the hill. An eagle cries out high above me, and I turn up my collar to the evening chill. I've been riding pastures for a week now, 7 long days that I've been gone. This cowboy's mind keeps on stampeding to the woman he loves waiting there at home. So strike a lope and let's hit the trail, old partner. We'll fly like the wind while there's still light, across the miles that we're apart, to the one that owns my heart. We gotta make it home by tonight. Grass is stirrup deep across the meadow, and the cattle wintered fine again this year. This springtime riding lifts a cowboy spirit. The master's touch is everywhere out here. The flowers on the hillside are blooming. Winter's cold is just a memory. It's got this cowboy dreaming of a sweetheart and one last kiss beneath the live oak tree. So strike a lope and let's hit the trail, old partner. We'll fly like the wind while there's still light, across the miles that we're apart, to the one that owns my heart. We gotta make it home by tonight. Cowboy moon is hanging over the mountains. Somewhere in the distance, a coyote bays. His hoofbeats echo softly down the canyon. The twinkling stars all come out to play. It's been too long since I've seen my darling. Miss her more every time I'm gone. But the distance between our hearts is getting closer, and it won't be long until we make it home. So strike a lope and let's hit the trail, old partner. We'll fly like the wind while there's still light, across the miles that we're apart, to the one that owns my heart. God, make it home by tonight. Looks like we're gonna make it home tonight.
Butch Falk and the song written by Gary Prescott. Well, I think it was about April of 1995, back at the pens at the Williams Lake Bull Sale, and we were visiting with Tom Hillman and Marlene Pegg.
Marlene, tell me the story again about when Tom came to help you. And I want to hear your side of it, and then I want to hear Tom's side.
Well, there's actually kind of two stories to all this. The first one was about when, well, being coming from Alberta, we needed an extra hand moving our cows out into the big country. And anyways, what had happened was Tom had this trusty old buckskin horse, and he decided that, well, he was going to come out and we're going to go move these cows out. And my husband and I, we got these cows all lined out, and a couple of the calves decided to truck on back to the ranch because that was the last place that they had to suck. So anyways, one calf was a little ahead of the other, and my husband was out in the lead, caught the calf, and he's on the other side of the bridge. I don't know how he made it across, but, you know, it was Tom's turn. So Tom decided that, okay, it's his turn, he's going to catch this calf, and this calf went trucking across the bridge, and Tom, he gets up there with his buckskin horse, and this horse is in hot pursuit. His eyes are just like, hey, I'm going, and he's coming along, and Tom was just kind of leaning himself up, which is wrong position.
Not your 100 jumper class instructions.
No, but he is into this, and he's up over his horse, kind of surveying the bridge to see how many holes are in the bridge. And so the horse all of a sudden decided to just put on the old binders and did a beautiful slide and stop, but Tom went right over the top. And he ended up on the planks, and his horse walked up to him gently afterwards and said, "You fool," you know. So that kind of ended it for Tom.
Right.
But then the next little story was, we got down to the river. The cows all moved out and got down to the Echinico River, and we were holding them. And because, like I say, our Alberta cows didn't like this flowing water stuff, they were not the easiest to push across. And in this time of year, we're into high water, so you kind of have to, you know, play the game with them a little bit. Well, there's one calf again, well, not the same calf, but another calf goes trucking on home. Well, we were pretty busy, and Tom disappeared. And Richard and I got the cows across, and we started wondering where Tom went. And I said, well, I seen him tail off that way, and I said, well, we better go and find out what kind of problems he's got. Well, here he's now. If anybody traveled the Batanooney Road, they know what kind of pea gravel is on there. Well, Tom is not a roper, so he was running up alongside this calf and decided he's going to bulldog it. So there he is. He pulled off a bulldogging act right on the Batanooney gravel. His knees have still got the scars to prove it. But he did it.
He catch the calf.
He caught the calf. He's laying there, and he's got this calf down. And Tom, he's looking there with this big grin on his face, and Richard rides up to him and he says, "Tom, you and I are going to go out back and take a few roping lessons."
A little easier.
A little easier on the knees.
Well, that was the first time we met this charming, bright ranch wife, and we've gotten to know her since that time. And there's another story from Marlene Pegg and another good song when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. It was 1995, I think, at the Williams Lake Bull Sale, and Marlene Pegg told us about a horse that really tested her.
We bought a horse out of the Edmonton horse sale, and he was just one super classy looking horse. He had a little blaze face, 4 white socks, chestnut, like just the pippin of a saddle horse. Well, ended up taking him home, and I thought, gee, this horse is too good looking for somebody to, just dump at a market. I stepped on him, and I thought, wow, I really understand why, because he was a little touchy. He was so touchy, like most horses, and you grab him by the head to step up on him. They can't generally kick you in the belly if you keep their head around.
Yeah.
He could.
Really? Is that flexible?
I thought this is pretty good, but as I appreciated his, going on, I thought this is fine. Well, one time I worked with him, and I had rode, talk about rosin up, I always felt like I was marking about an 80 every time I rode him.
He would really bog his head and really fire.
Yeah, and he had all the action, and he talked about it. He put his his head between his legs, and he could tell you a whole story. And one day, as I thought that this colt, this was after 2 years of riding him and taking my licks on him, that I'm going to master you. You're just too darn good looking to just let go to heck. And my dad decided that he wanted to move his cows to the pasture. And they're out in Alberta. Some of our fence lines aren't always sticking straight up where they should be. And there was a fence line just kind of leaning at a cant. And the cows were headed off down a road lines that I thought, well, I got to get ahead of them so I can cut them off and go back the other way.
Yep, she's in season, all right.
Yeah, she sure is. Isn't that the Murphy's Law? And anyways, I was going along, and I really busted this little horse out. We're really going right along. And this bank is about a foot off the ground. This fence line is leaning across, down like this. All of a sudden, that horse elevated himself up, jumped over that fence, and I'm right in the middle of a wheat field. Well, as soon as the wheat touched his belly, that set his nerves right off. And I'm riding a real bronc out in the middle of this crop, just tearing up the grain, eh? And I'm going, oh no. I got him rode, and I got down, and there was another gate, the road a little ways, and I went through that. I got off the horse, and my dad's standing there, and he said, well, how did you get into that field? He said, what a move. And I said, Dad, you missed it. But he couldn't believe it. But I remember the feeling of getting elevated way high in the air and coming down, and then he really got upset.
You will find out what became of that horse after something I can sure identify with as the years go by. I like to ride every chance I get, but if it's raining hard or snowing or too hot, sometimes I decide not to. Guess I'm turning into a fair weather cowboy.
I'm just a fair weather cowboy. Top hand when it's sunny, warm and clear. I'll be the wooliest, wildest buckaroo, but only when summertime is here. Oh, near when that big old sky's bright and blue. I am the man you should employ, but I'll be gone when that autumn wind blows through, 'cause I'm just a fair weather cowboy. My old hoss is cow horse born and bred. He likes dragging calves and roping steer. He'll sort and gather in beautiful weather, and then turn out to pasture for 9 months of the year. As long as it ain't dusty, dry and hot, not too hot, riding him is a fundamental joy. Give you everything we got if it ain't raining, 'cause I'm just a fair weather cowboy. Ask me, them cowpokes, they're all crazy to sit up on a horse out in the rain. Why, if it was me, I'd go in and watch a western movie and lament. I am just just like old John Wayne when it's sunny, when that big old sky's bright and blue. I am the man you should employ, but I'll be gone when that autumn wind blows through, 'cause I'm just a fair weather cowboy. Or I'll tell you folks, I'm just a fair weather cowboy, fresh out of Percocet. I'm just a fair weather cowboy.
Yeah, that's Brent Hill. Now back to Marlene and that horse.
How did he finally turn out? Did he come around?
He actually did. I was really surprised. It took me a lot of rough rides, but I mastered him. And one time I remembered, I said, this is it. I called the shots on him, and I thought, I took a little rubber quart, and I said to him, I said, horse, you're going to try this again, and you and I are going to have this real war. And I had to touch him everywhere I seen horsehair in the midstreams of bucking, but we got the understanding over with, and I won. I finally did it.
Did you have him for quite a while?
Well, it was about 3 years. Like, I couldn't let him go to anybody because there wasn't any, basically come to being cowboy enough that he's going to handle him, and I just felt, I just thought, well, it's meat for me, and seemed like I don't know, you never seem to, always you sort of like sell the good ones and you ride the bad ones because they're always
like,
richer.
yeah, because nobody wants the other ones and you get the money out of the good ones, and that's boy,
right.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, like I have a saddle horse at home and I call him Hank. And he's a yellow horse and he's a good looking horse. He's a body that a cowboy that appreciates a saddle horse will look at him. Nice sloping shoulder, good hip on him, long pencil neck, but an athlete. But he's also got that little shot of bronc in him. So he remains my saddle horse. And I look at him now and I say, do I need this? Do I really need this?
There's a lot of good horses like that, though, that can sure do the job, but you just can't put a greenhorn or your average Sunday afternoon rider on them and expect anything to work.
That's right.
Once they had their little ritual that they go through and have their little blow, then they settle down.
Go to
but
work.
If you turn them out in the winter and don't do anything with them for 6 months and bring them in the spring, there's a little job to be done sometime.
It's rodeo time again. Yeah.
Coming up, Baxter Black takes a serious look at genetically modified foods, another Song of the West, then the Rangeland News when the Spirit of the West continues right after this.
Howdy, friends. This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan, and I'll be right back after this with a little peek at genetically modified food. Well, friends, thanks for listening. It'll be no surprise that I've published a beautiful new hardback book called A Commotion in Rhyme. It fits in the bunkhouse, the outhouse, the bookstore, the library, or the cookbook. Unfortunately, it won't fit in a cupcake. A commotion? Oh. Call 800-654-2550 or baxterblack.com. Come to think of it, it might fit in a Caesar salad. What is it that scares people about genetically modified crops? Well, in one word, the unknown. It's the same reason people down through the ages have overreacted to eclipses, electricity, fluoride toothpaste, global warming, and Ross Perot, fear of the unknown. Our latitudinal neighbors in Europe seem to be particularly goosey about biological technology, or at least more susceptible to the professional chicken littles. Mad cow disease gave real scientists cause to take a second look, and they wound up concurring with the drastic measures, even though there has never been a single proven case of cross-infection to humans. Genetically modifying anything is the technology of science fiction. The fact that we are now capable of inventing new varieties of life is hard to comprehend, especially to those of us breeders who have spent decades selecting for specific traits. And the movie The Fly doesn't help either. Someone with no grasp of biological science has no way to personally evaluate the conclusion of the FDA that says genetically manufactured foods are inherently safe to eat versus the anti's conclusion that genetically manufactured foods will make you left-handed and sprout antennae. However, it is not a bad thing that the big scare has caused the FDA to take another look at the safety of biofoods. Several big agribusiness companies will be presenting their data for additional scrutiny and presenting the results of their field experience growing genetically modified crops. And those results are nothing short of miraculous. Genetically modified crop technology has fired farming 50 years into the future. The benefits for feeding the predicted population explosion are beyond our ability to calculate. It's part of the answer that we all expect when we face insurmountable obstacles and someone says, "Oh well, we'll think of something." I have faith in science. I have no doubt that with continued use, biofoods will prove inherently safe. The antis will find another cause, and Pioneer, Monsanto, and the other miracle workers will quietly go on about their business, which, of course, is feeding the world. Good on you, boys. Show 'em your stuff. This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan. Thanks for listening.
Come and be part of the Top Cut Speckled Bark Sale, Friday, April 12th at 4 p.m. at Dryland Trading Corp in Veteran, Alberta, offering 30 performance bulls, semen and embryo packages, fancy purebred heifers and pairs. This quality group of cattle offered by Unlimited Spots, Lair Ranching, Movin' Spots, and Macalair Ranching. Check out the catalog online at topcutspeckledbark.com or on Facebook. Join us for a meal and social at the Veteran Community Hall. Contact Dustin for more information, 306-228-1498. We've had a lot of you asking for our Creek of the Leather CD, and I've had to say, well, it's been sold out for quite a while. But we just managed to get a reissue, and we have them available again. And I thought, well, this would be a good excuse to slip one in here from it. So here's track one. Just start picking there, Jim. Where the sky goes on forever, where those prairie winds blows the cold and hard, comes a silent, lonely rider on his journey, and he's trapped between the sagebrush and the stars. In a time before the wire and the railroad, in a time they used to call the open range, like a slowly drifting shadow down the sifting sands of time, thinking that his world will never change. Where the sky goes on forever, where those prairie winds blow so cold and hard, comes a silent, lonely rider on his journey, and he's trapped between the sagebrush and the stars. There's a quarter moon horizon in the distance. He finally stops and throws his bedroll down, and the stars that fill his evening ride a trail that never ends. He falls asleep beneath them on the ground. Where the sky goes on forever, where those prairie winds blow so cold and hard, comes a silent, lonely rider on his journey, and he's trapped between the sagebrush and the stars, and he's trapped between the sagebrush and the stars. Come and see the largest selection of well-broke horses in Western Canada at the 6th Annual Top Gun Horse Sale. April 13th at high noon at the Cal Nash Event Center, Ponoka, Alberta. You can preview the horses Friday, April 12th at 4 p.m. and they start coming through the ring Saturday, April 13th at high noon. Over 200 horses expected. Horses for ranch work, team penning, roping, trail riding, barrels, mounted shooting, and kids' horses. Every type of horse you might be looking for, including loads of true ranch horses. Every horse will be ridden, driven, or led into the ring. Rain or shine, everything's inside. For information and to see the horses, go to TopGunHorseSales.com or call Jordan Dodds at 403-783-0246.
Now the news of the rangeland, a roundup of news and coming events from around the West.
At the top of page 1, it says, not sure if we'll be around in the year 2040. If we are, we might not still be in the cattle business, but for those of you who count on being in agriculture then, here's a look at the future with Rod Bain.
If you are an ag producer in the 55 years old or younger range, you may wonder what the future for your industry looks like in about 20 plus years. Brett Scotto of Aimpoint Research says a recent tabletop exercise with a broad spectrum of ag stakeholders did just that, projecting what the ag industry in the year 2040 may look like.
This group believed that there'll be fewer than 100,000 production agriculture farms left in America that do 75, 80, 85, maybe more % of the agricultural output of our country.
Farmers producing at such a scale that their operations are multinational, not just interstate. In terms of technology and science,
technology has changed your game. It's made you more automated. It's made you able to run your operation in new ways. The genetic revolution fully manifested at this point. Ideas like CRISPR that are emerging or cultured meat are largely online at this point.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
Compared to kids brought up in the city, those with early life farm exposure typically had fewer cases of asthma, allergies, and sinus problems, according to a Thorax Medical Journal article. Scientists also found that women who grew up on the farm were shown to have stronger lungs than women with an urban upbringing. Researchers remain unsure what drives the correlation between spending time on the farm and the development of allergies, but they speculate that exposure to certain microbes, air pollution, and physical activity could all play a role, as reported in Time magazine. Too much cleanliness is an additional theory as to why children brought up in the city typically have a higher chance of allergies. At Schaff Angus Valley's annual production sale, hosted at their ranch near St. Anthony, North Dakota on February 9th, a bull by the name of SAV America 2018 set the tone for the auction. The lot number 1 bull of the sale commanded a number of bids during his 6 minutes in the ring before the final gavel sounded, and the last bid, made by Herbster Angus Farms of Falls City, Nebraska, was for an amount of $1.5 million. And a round of applause was given to the crowd in attendance as that bull left the ring. Just looking over the photos and videos of the horses listed for the big Top Gun horse sale at the Calnash Event Center in Ponoka on April 13th, and boy, there's some nice ones. And attention team ropers, 5 to 6 conditioned longhorn roping steers and 5 to 6 conditioned longhorn roping heifers. These steers and heifers will have roughly 100 to 120 runs on them by the time of the sale, and they are very honest. They'll be penned out back in between the arena and the barn, and they'll be sold as a group, not a gate run. And they won't come through the sale ring, so make sure you have a look at them before the sale. And for more information, just call Jordan at 403-783-0246. April the 9th is the next regular cattle sale at the BC Livestock Co-op Yards in Kamloops, April 15th at the Okanagan Falls Yards, and of course April the 18th, the big Williams Lake Bull Sale, where I interviewed Marlene Pegg about 25 years ago. Lots of special sales coming up at the Innisfail Auction Market, including the Danes Cattle 24th Annual Bull Sale, April the 11th. Regular cattle sales every Wednesday. Get all the details at InnisfailAuctionMarket.com. Okay, now the final item. And as we get older, it seems we like to spend a lot more time talking about our memory. And I guess I kind of impressed the group the other day when I said I have no problem remembering my driver's license number, my health care number, my social security number, and my password. Only problem is I can't remember which is which. And that's the Rangeland News. Coming up on the Urban Saddles and Western Wear Horse Training File, I talk about the concept ride a fast horse slow and a slow horse fast. And there's more from Marlene Pegg when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West on the Irvin Saddles and Western Wear Horse Training File. A look into a listener's problem. She really wants to look after her horse's nutritional needs as best she can, but her horse gets really excited and high when he's on the diet she thinks he needs. It's an interesting problem, and it's fairly common, and we'll get into that after something that a lot of folks have on their bucket list. A way to see where a lot of our North American ranching history came from and where some of us can trace our roots back to. Here's what a few folks have said about the Spirit of the West cruises.
We had a lot of fun. One of the best cruises I've been on with you.
I've already put my deposit down for the next year's cruise, so sure we'll see you again.
Yeah, it's a good crowd.
I've met excellent people and I couldn't ask for a better trip. The people were just like family. People look out for each other's and it's great. It's great experience.
And they're just dedicated to helping you enjoy your holiday. I think that's what I really like about cruising.
That's what makes it so nice, is that there are so many folks that are from the background, the way we were brought up on farms and ranches.
Our 2019 cruise will be something we've wanted to do for a long time. August 29th, we'll fly to Dublin, Ireland. We'll visit an Irish thoroughbred breeding farm, be hosted by the Irish Cattle Breeding Federation. Then we'll sail to some historic and beautiful places, Cork, Belfast, and then Glasgow and Inverness, Scotland. We might even get pictures of Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster. And we'll have stops in Paris and London. Get all the information at 1-800-530-0131. And check out our Spirit of the West cruise page at hugh-mclennan.com and our cruise Facebook page. And we would love to see you at our big cruise reunion celebration in Red Deer on Thursday, April 25th from 5 till about 8:30 p.m. Friends and family of our past cruisers welcome, and we'll have lots of photos and videos of past cruises. You can give Jim and Karen a call at this number, 1-800-530-0131, and let them know you're coming.
Now it's time for the Horse Training File, brought to you by Irvine Tack and Western Wear, Canada's largest Western store.
Dear Winter, we've had our moments together, the skiing, the sledding, and all that pickup shinny at the local rink. But now it's time for a new fling with spring. And the place to suit up for this warm weather romance is Irvine Tack and Western Wear. Exciting spring arrivals, something for everyone. It's Western Wear with a welcome twist. Plus, Irvine's has expanded yet again, so there's more than ever before. Exit 305 off Highway 2 by Crossfield.
Don't just wear it, live it. Irvine Tack and Western Wear.
And I'm sure you know you can shop online at urbansaddles.ca with free shipping on orders over $100, and branding season just about here. All your supplies there, including a special on ropes. Well, ride a fast horse slow and a slow horse fast. That's the saying. A listener had a problem with a horse that had been pretty good, but she wanted to make sure he was fit and healthy for the riding season, so she increased his grain ration and changed his diet to free choice alfalfa hay. And she said the first few rides in the spring were scary. His head was in the air, his eyes were wide open, and he spooked and snorted at just about anything he saw. Why this personality change? Well, here's the common cause. For the most part, horses are relatively calm, quiet animals when they're left to maintain themselves. Free-roaming grazers they are. They spend the biggest percent of their time relaxed and quiet, but when confined and fed high-energy feed, they can develop physical and mental issues. Now, the listener, like many horse owners, wants the very best for their horse or horses. And we may get by with obesity in older horses, but with younger ones, they are put in a situation like feeding a kid a bunch of sugar and then expecting him to sit still in church or go to sleep. The chemistry just doesn't let it happen. Energy, whether it's stored or fed, makes a horse want to go. The less energy inside him, the less he will want to go. Now, this doesn't mean starve your horse, but be aware of the kind of high-energy carbohydrate feeds that you're giving him, like grain. There are feeds out there that maintain a healthy horse and don't make him want to jump out of his skin. Hoffman's horse ration's a great example. And there is an old saying, ride a fast horse slow and a slow horse fast, meaning If the rider has a lot of energy in their body, the horse will speed up. If the rider doesn't have as much energy, the horse will slow down. Now, this may or may not happen in minutes, but it will over a period of hours or days, and in most cases, even with people that don't have very many horsemanship skills. When the person relaxes and the rhythm is slower than the horse will eventually try to get in rhythm with the person. And the same effect takes place when the person is tense or faster than the horse's rhythm. And that's, I guess, what we mean by ride a fast horse slow and a slow horse fast. So for Irvin Saddles and Western Wear, that's the Horse Training File. Remember, you can find out more about Hoffman's Horse Ration at hoffmanshorseration.com. Come and see the largest selection of well-broke horses in Western Canada at the 6th Annual Top Gun Horse Sale. April 13th at high noon at the Cal Nash Event Center, Ponoka, Alberta. You can preview the horses Friday, April 12th at 4 p.m. and they start coming through the ring Saturday, April 13th at high noon. Over 200 horses expected. Horses for ranch work, team penning, roping, trail riding, barrels, mounted, shooting, and kids' horses. Every type of horse you might be looking for, including loads of true ranch horses. Every horse will be ridden, driven, or led into the ring. Rain or shine, everything's inside. For information and to see the horses, go to TopGunHorseSales.com or call Jordan Dodds at 403-783-0246. You'll hear Marlene Pegg's thoughts on what she enjoys most about ranching life after this one from the First Lady of Western Music, as they called her at the Kamloops Cowboy Festival, Jean Prescott.
I met him at a dance one night. He swept me up and held me tight. We danced until the early morning light. I fell for him, he fell for me, and we both knew it instantly. We locked our hearts and threw away the key. He danced me, romanced me, waltzed me down that magic road of dreams. That black hat, those blue eyes sure made me want to live out on the range. I fell for that cowboy, and I knew right then that things would change. That I would be a cowboy's wife, and I would live the cowboy's life. So I proudly took that cowboy's name. But I never realized that all those wild blue western skies could be so lonely out there on the plains. He left out before each dawn, and I was left there all alone. And all I did was watch the seasons change. He danced me, romanced me, waltzed me down that magic road of dreams. That black hat, those blue eyes sure made me want to live out on the range. I fell for that cowboy, and I knew right then that things would change. That I would be a cowboy's wife, and I would live the cowboy's life. So I proudly took that cowboy's name. I wanted to be by his side, and so I learned to rope and ride, and ran those little doggies' tender hides. For I had to make a hand, 'cause this is where I made my stand. I knew that I would love him till I died. He danced me, romanced me, waltzed me down that magic road of dreams. That black hat, those blue eyes sure made me want to live out on the range. I fell for that cowboy, and I knew right then that things would change. That I would be a cowboy's wife, and I would live the cowboy's life. So I proudly took that cowboy's name. Now I am a cowboy's wife. I love and live the cowboy's life. And I'm so proud I took that cowboy's name.
And now, back to Marlene Pegg.
Marlene, what do you like best about the whole ranching life and rancher's wife's role and everything?
I think everything, absolutely everything. There isn't a part of ranching life that I can't appreciate, from the calving time to putting in the hay to working up the land to moving the cows to handling the horses. And that the only part is like calving time is a great time, but it's like having a newborn baby in the house with colic. You don't get enough sleep.
Right.
And whether you're taking the check or your husband's taking the check, you've got to be there with them.
Yeah.
But other than that, you know, you see the little guys out there and you forgive them for keeping you up all night, and you're happy. I had this, I was talking to this old guy and he said, you know, he said something, he says, you just don't do one thing with your wife. He says, you don't go feeding cows with her. And I said, well, why don't you? And he said, well, it's like this. He said, she gets in the pickup. She don't know how fast to go. We're up. He says, I'm up on top of the pickup with his bales, eh? And he said, what does she do? She hits every cow turd on the feedlot, he said, and I'm bouncing off. And you know what? When I'm on the ground laying there, she doesn't even know I'm gone.
Didn't even miss him.
Didn't even miss him. Well, that was something that happened to me this year. That was really good. It was my check. So I get up and take a look in this cow at her calf, and I thought, well, isn't that great? I went over and I sprayed the navel, and I'm just really proud the calf is just doing really good. I come back in the house and I told Richard, I said, so-and-so had her calf, and this is great. And he said, good. My daughter comes in at 5 o'clock in the morning because she takes part in the checks too, and she said, we got troubles, Mom. She said, there's a cow, and she said, I can't figure it out. It's got a calf by its side. There's something wrong, eh? And sure enough, and that I never even thought. We went and lost it because it was cold, eh? And she's too long calving, but we lost the other twin. But you see, I didn't realize, you know, that there was another calf there. You see, I just thought, and that was kind of a sad thing, but one of the things ranchers put up with, I guess. You know, like the other twin made it quite well, but it was too bad. But one of the things I said to my husband, I said, well, I blew that one, and of course he forgave me, which was very nice.
Well, that all evens out in the long run, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, if I don't let you quit talking, your coffee's going to get cold.
It's cold, you bet.
But listen, thanks a lot for this. Really enjoyed that, and it's just great to talk to folks in this wonderful part of the country here. We don't get up here nearly often.
Well, that was back in about 1995. Now, Marlene's life has changed quite a bit since then, and she will be here next week to talk about why she is no longer able to ride and about the great gift she's found within herself and how it's changed her life. Don't miss that one. Next, it's a classic song of the West. I remember it well, but some of you may be way too young. Then a fine piece of cowboy poetry when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. A long-lost song of the West is coming up. First, though, here's Belinda Gale.
She said, I can do that. It wouldn't take nothing but a whole lot of heart. Iron will and gumption I'll just use what the good Lord gave me. So don't call me honey, and don't call me baby. I ride high in the saddle, always saddle my own horse. Still I'm every inch a lady, from the outside to the core. I take the trail less traveled, 'cause I know where it leads. I live my life by the cowgirl creed. I dream as big as Texas, work hard and I'm faithful. I never cease to be amazed, dedicated and grateful. And I try to be a good hand when a hand's what's needed. And I'll stay that way long as I'm living and breathing. And I'll die with my boots on. I ride high in the saddle, always saddle my own horse. Still I'm every inch a lady, from the outside to the core. I take the trail less traveled, 'cause I know where it leads. I live my life at the cowgirl creed. I can hear my heroes on the western wind saying, what's holding you back, what's keeping you in? I think the world looks a lot better from the back of a horse, where I can see forever, see just what I'm shooting for. I love this life that I've been given. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. I live my life by the cowgirl creed.
In digging through the vault for another classic Western song, I came across this one that I remember hearing when I was just a little kid. I can't remember who sang it. Some of the digging I did showed that it probably or possibly was Maury Amsterdam as the composer in 1947. Well, it could be. He was a co-star on the old Dick Van Dyke TV show and a writer, but I think it was around before that. Anyhow, I came across this version from Tex Hill. I used to see him at the WMA conventions and actually interviewed him at his store in Wickenburg, great place called Readers of the Purple Sage. And his first career was movie stuntman, and he rode across the Great Divide in 2014. Anyway, this song is actually known by two different titles, and I'm not sure which one is the right one. Glue on My Saddle or I Can't Get Off of My Horse.
I always wish that I could be a cowboy and live out west where the wind blows free. Now that I have become a cowboy, look what's happened to me. I can't get off of my horse. All day and night I ride among the cattle. I can't get off of my horse. Cause some low-down ornery thieving, cussing, cattle rustling, dirty dog put glue on my saddle. On my saddle. On your saddle. On my saddle. Yep, on his saddle. Some low-down ornery thieving, cussing, cattle rustling, dirty dog put glue on my saddle. I used to be a lady-killing dandy. He's a dandy. I'd dance with all the girls and I'd hold them tight. I always brought 'em lots of flowers and candy. Now I can't even kiss 'em goodnight. That's right. Cause I can't get off of my horse. All day and night I ride among the cattle. I can't get off of my horse. Cause some low-down ornery thieving, cussing, cattle rustling, dirty dog put glue on my saddle. On my saddle, on my saddle, yep, on the saddle. Some low-down ornery thieving, cussing, cattle rustling, dirty dog put glue on my saddle. Now when my life on this range is over, and I'm called to that last great roundup in the starry blue. Yes, when you dig that hole for me to rest in, for him to rest in, you'd better make it big enough for two. Why's that, Dick? Cause I can't get off of my horse. All day and night I ride among the cattle. I can't get off of my horse. Cause some low-down ornery thieving, cussing, cattle rustling, dirty dog put glue on my saddle. On my saddle. On your saddle. On my saddle. Yep, on your saddle. Some low-down ornery thieving, cussing, cattle rustling, dirty dog put glue on my saddle.
I wonder if he ever thought of just taking his chaps and pants off. Anyway, we're going to wrap this up with a fitting piece of cowboy poetry from Don Nelson called Then He Made Cowgirl.
I think God has a special place for cowboys in his heart. For when he made a cowboy, it was a pure work of art. He took an everyday man, and then he made him much better. Gave him away with horses. Made him a real go-getter. He then gave him a work ethic, the strongest in the land. Along with this ethic, 2 strong and able working hands, he taught him how to work the land and the cattle to tend. He gave him a strong self-worth and the loyalty of a true friend. He handed him a knowledge that is surpassed by darn few. And then he handed him a heart of steel that beat pure and true. God looked down on what he created. It was plain to see. He found he had created a man as tough as could be. In this cowboy he made, he found but one major mistake. There was nothing to make this cowboy's heart speed up or to break. God knew each great creation had to have a weakness to be told. He went back to the drawing board to make another fine mold. This one a bit harder, for he'd made the cowboy so tough. He had to make someone who'd stay when the going got rough. He searched throughout the heaven and all the places that could be. He found what he'd been looking for, the perfect recipe. He put a kind and gentle hand, then an understanding mind, a strong but willing nature, and all the sugar he could find. In one form he'd made something so perfect and complete. It could ride, rope, and shoot like cowboy, master any feat. He looked at his creation, quite happy with what he saw. He knew what lay before him was perfect without a flaw. He threw away the mold, he knew there'd never be another. He had made cowgirl, friend, hired hand, wife, and mother. He then placed them together and smiled as they walked away, for he knew what he had created would forever stay. He knew that cowboy and cowgirl would have some tough times. They'd be flat broke, to their names not a single dime. God knew that together there was nothing they couldn't do. No matter what he'd throw at them, they'd always pull through.
Well, thank you so much for making the ride this week, and I sure hope you can join us right here next week at the same time. Just a reminder again, the Western Spirit Band will be on the trail. We'll be at Withrow Church, not far from Eckville, Alberta, for a show with our special guest, the one and only Ben Crane. And to order tickets, just see bencrane.com and click on tickets. And I understand that they are selling pretty fast. As always, thanks to our terrific support crew, Mark and Kathy McMillan. And if you're looking for tractor parts, any make, any year, Mark can help you. Just go to bctractorparts.com. And to subscribe to all that great stuff in Canadian Cowboy Country Magazine, just go to cowboycountrymagazine.com. Till next week when Marlene Pegg will be here, I'm Hugh McLennan. Hope to see you down the trail somewhere real soon.